Today we're going to go over a little bit around how to start learning how to feel your feelings. This is something a lot of us struggle with. As children, we often have really big emotions. We throw a fit over something going wrong, and oftentimes, there's a lot of things that can happen. We can be, surrounded by adults who maybe have their own stresses, their own struggles with their own emotions. And so the easiest thing to do is shut them down and invalidate them. Common statements are, don't be so dramatic. Why are you exaggerating? Life isn't fair. Learn to deal with it. And all of these phrases come from a space of the people around us trying to support us and learning how to regulate our emotions, because they're right. As adults, we can't walk around and, throw a huge fit over something and get our way most of the time. And so what they're trying to do is get us to figure out how to regulate our emotions. However, when we're little, those messages that we take in are often invalidating around our emotional experience. And so what we slowly start to learn is that our emotions are too big. We shouldn't be feeling so much. There shouldn't, the things that are coming up, they just don't make sense. They're not logical. Something's weird. Something's different about you. And that's why you're experiencing this in this way. That's why you have these really big emotions. And so, what can happen is one of two things. We either, slowly adapt and have this really, really emotional sensitivity where we start to get hijacked and emotional about everything, or we repress and we shove it down and we kind of package our emotions up in boxes. And so, what both of these tend to do is we attempt to manage our emotions by thinking logically. And so we'll start to internalize those messages of invalidation towards ourselves, saying, it doesn't make sense why I feel this way, or I shouldn't be afraid of this thing, or I shouldn't be anxious. It doesn't add up. I should just be able to do this thing. I'm an adult now. I should be able to, drive on the highway without this anxiety. This anxiety is stupid. And the hard part is when we use that logic to try and control our emotions tend to just continue to work on hijacking us. Even if we can pass them for the moment and kind of put them to the side for the moment, what happens is they start to build on each other until they emotionally hijack us, and then we get either flooded in a situation or something small happens that completely sets us off. So what I really work on encouraging people to do is slowly start learning how to acknowledge, notice that your feelings are there, notice you're feeling a certain way, validate and understand that feeling, even if you don't approve of it, even if you don't think it should be there. We can validate and accept without approving. And so we can say, I'm feeling really afraid right now. I'm feeling really anxious about driving on the highway. That's okay. It's okay that experience is within me. Even if our anxiety, I tell people, even if your anxiety is like, the chance of it happening is 0.0000001%. There's still a chance. And so invalidating that experience only gets that part of you to not trust you, because it's like, there is a chance. There is a possibility that this thing will happen. And so what we slowly start to do when we start to safely learn how to feel our feelings is we allow some space and some acknowledgement of the feeling itself. We validate the feeling itself. And then we work on, how can I support myself with this feeling? Just because I'm feeling anxious about driving on the highway doesn't mean I'm not going to drive on the highway. However, is there something else I can do to support myself so that I can feel safer in doing this? And that might be leaving a little bit earlier so that you don't feel so rush and pressed. Doing a stress management technique, a breathing exercise before you get into the car. Having kind of a plan for afterwards, after you get where you're going. How do I help myself calm down before I walk into where I'm going to? So having some kind of plan around feeling your feelings is important. If you are a person who your feelings hijack you, they overwhelm you, they feel impossible to sit with because they just suck you in and take you down with them, then you need to have some emotional boundaries around safely feeling your feelings. And sometimes this is, I'll set a 5-minute timer and I'll sit with this feeling and I'll try to understand it and I'll just let it be here. And then once that 5 minutes is up, I'm going to actively work on distracting myself, grounding myself, using techniques I have to calm my body back down so I can shift out of this emotion. And then for some of us, we have our own history with emotions and possibly trauma around emotional responses, that sitting with those feelings on our own is actually really detrimental and can be re-traumatizing for us. And so we need the support of another person, and preferably somebody who is experienced and able to hold that space for you in order to feel your feelings and teach you how to dip into the feeling without falling into it. And the reason we might need somebody is because we can learn, and we co-regulate through people around us. So being in the presence of somebody who's validating, understanding, and experienced in feeling feelings, they can help you kind of shift out of that feeling and learn how to titrate. So I can go a little bit into it and then I can shift out of it, and I can go a little into it and I can shift out of it. And so finding somebody, preferably someone who has some kind of body-based and mindfulness techniques to support you in that, is really, really essential.